Day, okay. Good day, everyone. Welcome to another session. Welcome to another session of WS Study User Group. Containerization and Orchestration. Right. So we are going deep dive into. We are going to look at deploying of a microservice to EKS, which our friend, our brother, would be handling. Person of Ukeme will be handling for us, right? So, just before we bring Ukeme up stage, we just want to talk on some of the things that we've discussed so far, some of the things we've discussed. Before we start, let me just give in a few minutes for others to join. By the way, my name is Simi Saheyi. So I'm part of the team. So we'll be talking on the app containerization and orchestration, right? Yeah, so while we are waiting for, just want to give like 2 minutes for others to join. So please, if you could do us the honor, please let us share the link so others could also join. And so, yeah, just give it like 2 minutes. So we also have another colleague of ours who is also in the part of the leadership group of this team, the person of God's time. God's time, can you please come up stage?
Hi, thank you, Simi. It's nice being in studio today with everybody, and we are here to do AWS DevOps work. Yeah, thank you.
So just we just want to do like a recap of some of the things that we've talked so far in this journey when we started this study group. So we talked about project onboarding. We talked about doing project onboarding. We talked about things regarding how usually your project planning or your project planning. So we talked about that and some of the things that you need, some of the tools that you need. We talked about that. We also talked about how you plan the team because in the field you are not the only one. It's not a one man show. It's a group of so. So we've talked about that. So we also talked about some of the tools that we could use. We talked about Docker. We talked about EKS. We also talked about doing our beginner session. We talked about the Linux operating system. And we talked about some other things that you need to, some prerequisite of things that you need to know in this field, right? So while we are still some of the things that we talked about, we just discuss them briefly. So, like the Docker, the EKS, the Kubernetes service, that's the Kubernetes service of AWS, some of the stuff that we talked about here. So, and also the project planning aspect too of things that you need to do. So, guide that because like the saying goes, if that fails to plan to fail, right? So if before you set out on a project to say, oh, I want to deploy this application, I want to or build a pipeline, there should be a plan that you should have in place that, oh, this is what I want to achieve. These are the steps I believe should work. You should have done some research before you set out on the project, right? Before you are saying, oh, I'm deploying straight to AWS, I'm deploying an EC2 instance, or I'm deploying in a managed service, right? So all those research issues, something you should have done. So it shouldn't be when you are now deploying and you're not saying that, oh, this technology does not work for me, or this service won't work for the purpose of what I want to use it for, right? So, so these are the things that you need to do. And another thing that we've also talked about is communicate. And one thing that we promote also in the team, in the group, is communications. Right? We promote effective communication. We ensure if you're having an issue, speak out. Like reference my former boss, he used to mention one thing that there's no um, no challenge that you are trying to face that someone has not encountered it before. It might not be the exact same challenge, but someone over the somewhere has encountered it before. And all you just need to do is just how to search and how to fine tune such solution to suit your own purpose. It might not be 100% solution fix, and there are sometimes you get a exact fix for your issue. But you should always try to always make research. That's just the bottom line. That any challenge you are facing, try to Google it. Try to, now that we have chat GPT in place, it's know that not all solutions chat GPT gives you, or the AI to gives you, that are 100% complete, that could also you could also make use of um, some other some other solutions, right? The things you need to put in place while you're deploying your applications, things, check makers, or things that you need to put in place, right? Yeah, God send my here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so I just like
All
you to
right.
just discuss some items or things that we need to put in place if we are deploying our solutions to AWS. Some checker, is it maker checker? Yeah, on things you need to do, right?
All right. Thank you, Simi, for the walkthrough. It's been amazing. So, uh, as a community, we've tried over time to walk through all the application lifecycle, from the lessons we'll be learning, from the beginner's lesson in preparing your servers, then to containerizing your application, then to deploying your application on the environment. First of all, as a DevOps engineer, I feel the first things you need to do before you deploy your application. First, you know your application stack, and then the design pattern you want to use. The application can be event driven, it can be a normal application. Then from there, when you know what you want your application, what it does, then you now decide on, do you want to make it deploy it as a serverless application? Does that application have long running time, like a seed lambda 5 minute time? Then that application, is it, will it do well better as a Fargate application, or will it do well in a server environment like using EC2 Linux machines? So our last sections for the advanced, we walked through EKS. So EKS is Elastic Container Service by AWS. So to deploy an application into an EKS cluster, first you need to have knowledge of how Kubernetes work. Kubernetes is open source, was given by Google to the community, and was first Borg, it's called Borg. So now Kubernetes orchestrate container is a container orchestrated platform. So what it does is, before there was Docker, then from the evolution, Docker came, Docker Swarm came, then Docker Compose. All of these were meant to orchestrate containers, but Kubernetes did it better. So that's why all cloud services have their own flavor of Kubernetes. but for AWS we have EKS. So to like from our last lesson, just to recap, to set up an EKS cluster first, you have to actually define proper networking. So AWS has actually created documentations on how to run a proper EKS cluster with a proper network setup. So there's a documentation, and if you watch our last video, you can go back to the last video to check. Taiwo actually made the showed us the link on how to have a proper EKS setup. First of all, you have to determine the network. Your network for production workload, you want to make sure that your Kubernetes API server and your node are running a private subnet so that they cannot interfere with the internet. So you reduce by like that, you reduce surface of attack, and then make your EKS very, very fault tolerant and secure. Then from there, when you move away from your networking, the next part you have to account for is your IAM. So you want to make sure your cluster is able to communicate with your node group, your other resources. For example, you are running an event-driven application and your EKS wants to talk to um, um, SQS for queue, for events, for messages, or Amazon MQ for messages. You want to make sure that when there is a call, that the endpoint can communicate with each other. Your endpoint can receive messages, your application can receive messages, send it to SQS can receive your application messages, broker it, send it to the consumer, whatever SQS you want to use, if it's FIFO or standard, anyone you want to use, can send messages to your application. Then you want to ensure that your service principal are properly set up. So that, for example, you are using secret manager to store your Kubernetes secrets, or parameter store to store your Kubernetes secrets. You want to make sure that when your application requests that secret at runtime, it can access the secrets from AWS Secret Manager. So you have to like ensure that your node group, your API servers can communicate with your kubelet that's running your node group. So you have to make sure that your IAM allows there's proper setup for your IAM to allow those communication. And then when you have accounted for that, then you want to make sure that you size your node group properly. So in Kubernetes, AWS, in EKS, AWS handles your control plane or your control plane components. AWS handles them for you at a price of, I think, about the cumulated price is about $73 per month. Yes. So you want to make sure that your application, for example, you're a startup and then you want to run your application in the Kubernetes cluster, or you're a DevOps engineer working for a startup, working for an enterprise, working for whichever level of growth your company or is at. You want to make sure that you are not costing them money by sizing your node group. Your node group Kubernetes has two main components: the control plane component and the worker node component. Before it used to be referred to as a master and slave kind of relationship. Your control plane handles the main, your control plane is the brain of the cluster, while your node group is where your pods are running. So you want to make sure that you are not using instances that, for example, your application is supposed to run on probably a T3 medium instances, and then you are not using a T3 2x large, and your application, the traffic coming is too small for your application. If you are using Elastic Beanstalk, if you check your Cloud Watch, you see that the alarms there for metrics for low CPU usage, you see that it's always triggering for when your application is not receiving traffic. So you want to size your node group properly so that you will not be paying $1,000 for a workload that you're supposed to be paying probably a $200 or $150 per month for. Then after that, you now container know that your cluster is ready to receive your containerized application. How do you containerize your application? You write a Docker file for your application, like Simi and others has taught us here. You write Docker file for your application, and then you write Kubernetes manifest for your application. So that's what we are going to be doing today. That's what we're going to be doing today. So then when your application is ready, and then you have written, accommodated all the loopholes in your cluster, then you want to think a way of exposing your APIs, probably through ingress using load balancer, API gateway, or writing your own ingress services. And after then, you want to make sure that you are having a proper login and monitoring of your Kubernetes workload, because Kubernetes is majorly for running microservices. You can run other application stack on Kubernetes, but ideally it makes more sense to run microservices on Kubernetes so that you can have a system running your applications. For example, you have a microservice that has order service, that has validation service, that has accounts balance, like if you're running a fintech applications, that you can do account balance, account check, validation, login, other services, and they are microservices. So you don't want to be deploying them on servers, different server. For example, you deploy account validation on a T3 micro, the other one on a T2 medium, then support on a T2 micro, another one, and probably because login will be having plenty requests, or your landing page, then you now put it on probably on a T2 large instance. So like that, you have three or five different instances running on their own, and then monitoring and management becomes a headache. So that's why those services, you carry them and deploy them on a cluster, on one cluster, and then work your magic to expose those APIs via ingress. There are different ingress services. There's Nginx, there's these guys, service mesh, ingress. Then you can expose them anyhow you want, and then you want to ensure that you are logging and monitoring those microservices differently. So I think we this is like a start for what we will be doing today. Okay, I think I will read the mic to you at this time. Thank you.
Give me a minute. I need to put on my lights. Wait a minute.
Okay, I'm back again. While Kime is putting on his lights, so if you are here, and you are new, you're a fresh DevOps engineer, we have a community. We are using WhatsApp for now, when we might probably expand to other platforms. So we'll be dropping links to join our community, and then start learning. If you have experience, you start supporting. Is we are doing open source here. We support, we help, we guide, then we learn. That's what we do. Yeah, I think Kemi's light is on. Welcome, Kemi.
Hi guys. Hello everyone. Thanks for having me. GT has said it, and we will just go straight to it. So I have this. I have this. I'm going to share my screen, and we might have to use a different approach. This is not a Jenkins class, but we would use Jenkins to make our deployment. So going to share my screen. Give me a minute. Yeah. Okay. So I have this repo I would like to share. Yeah. So this is the repo we'll be using. Is a Spring Boot microservice application. And I was actually looking for what kind of application we can use, and that was kind of like some, should I say, hard to find something easy, something simple everyone can easily understand. I'm going to add this to the chat so you can. Oh, someone said my voice is breaking. Is my voice still breaking? Okay, so we'll be following this here. This is a Spring Boot application, and I wrote the steps of what we are going to do today to eventually deploy to Kubernetes EKS. So these are the steps. We'll create an EC2 instance, we set up Jenkins in it, to SSH into it, install Maven, install Java, and then we will set up our Jenkins. Then we would, yeah, we have some prerequisites. So you need to have AWS CLI installed, right? You need to have EKS CTL installed. Yes, CTL installed. You need to have kubectl installed. And then we would have to give appropriate administrative privileges. And then we'd have to assign the role to the EC2 instance. That's to the EC2 instance housing Jenkins. We'll assign this IAM role to it. Then we'll switch the Jenkins user. Then refresh this. We should have some new updates there. Yeah, okay. So there's a lot of steps. Hopefully, we'll be able to cover everything today. But because of time, I'll just be copying and pasting and then doing some more explanation. So let's start from the beginning. We have to create an EC2 instance for Jenkins. So I'm just going to go into my AWS console. I already have that done before, but for the sake of learning, we'll have to do it again. So once you come to your AWS console, click on EC2. We're creating an EC2 instance. This should be very easy for everyone here because this is an advanced session. Okay, so my cluster is already running. But let's just create a new one. Okay, so let's create a new instance for Jenkins. I'm going to call this study group study group Jenkins. Let me just small cap study group Jenkins, and then we'll be using Ubuntu 20. Ubuntu 20, yes. And then in terms of the instance, if you follow this link I just sent, you would see you can follow us as we move along. So for this, we'll be using T2 medium, and then you need to generate the key pair. I already have one generated before, so I'm just going to use that. And then in terms of security groups, you have to make sure that you allow port 8080 because Jenkins communicate on port 8080. So this is not a Jenkins class, but we would just want to use Jenkins to create our deployment. Before we come back to, okay, let's just continue here. So from here, we would now security group. I already have one created before where port 8080 is allowed, and then that's it. We launch. So while we're creating, okay. So what's the T2 medium? I actually picked the wrong. I picked the wrong one. So I picked the one with SQL Server instead of just this regular one. Yes, confirm changes and then launch. I'm going to show you, let's go through this repo and let's see the manifest files that we have there. So once we come to manifest, so this repo doesn't belong to me. Actually, it is I saw it online and that's what we're using. Where is it? Yes, so this is it. EKS deploy K8 YAML file. Let's run through it. So this is basically telling you that okay, we have a deployment. The kind is called deployment. This is the app, the Spring Boot app. We want to create 4 replicas, and then this is the image we're using. So it's pulling this image from ECR. What I didn't tell you is what we are going to do is we're going to use Jenkins, and then we're going to use what's it called? We're going to use ECR. So Jenkins builds the image, pushes it to ECL, pulls it from there, and then makes the deployment on these container ports. And then we have a kind of service, which is the load balancer, and then we can reach our application through that load balancer. So that's the idea. Very simple, right? Straight to the point. So there are other complicated ways or more advanced ways of doing this, but basically what we just have here in our manifest file is a deployment, and then we have our service, which is a load balancer, which is going to give us a URL where we can use to access our application. So that's it there. I'm going back to, okay, any comments? Nothing. I'm going to go back to, yep, where was I? Yes, creating the EC2 instance. So we've already launched this instance now. This is it. Where is it? Study group. Oh, okay. So I already have one study group here before. This is from the EKS. So this is the one we have here. We now have to connect to it. This is the one I just created now. We have to connect to it. So if I click on connect now, you see there's this connection string there. So I'm just going to go to my terminal and create a new one. Hopefully we'll cover everything with time. Show me Ubuntu profile. Where's my so I'm trying to open a new profile. Okay, let me just use this. Let me use what I have here originally. Yes, so my key pair, as you can see, this is using a key pair. My key pair is already on my downloads folder. If I ls there, it's somewhere there. Where is it? Where is it? This is it. This is my key pair. So zoom in, take this to the side. Yes, so I'll just copy this and then paste it there. Oops, no, this is what I'm copying. I'm not too fast. This is an advanced class, so yes. So all right, so we're in, and let's check our repo and then follow the steps there. I kind of like wrote that documentation. So where is it? Where is that repo? Yeah. So this is our repo. So we've done the first step, which is actually creating an EC2 instance that can house our Jenkins here with SSH into it. Now we have to update because we want to install Maven and install Java also. So if I do sudo apt update, you have to update because it's a new I just pinned up the instance, so I have to update it, right? Good practice to do that. So while that is done, we have to now install Maven. So if we install Maven, right? If we install Maven, Maven will automatically install Java. So instead of doing both, we just do one and it covers the two of them. So that's sudo apt install Maven -y. I do that. If we then, once that is done, okay, so this is supposed to be together. This is supposed to be together. Okay, on we will now check the versions. Okay, that's done. So I'll take that out. I'll say we say maybe in version. See that's installed. Java version as installed. So now we need to install Jenkins. This now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to search online because Jenkins, because there's some mistake there. Jenkins installation. Okay, so I think this is it. So if we copy all of this and then we paste it in the terminal. Yep. Yeah, installing a lot of things. Okay, so while that is going on, yeah, let's see. So while that is going on, if we go to our instance, where is that instance, and then get the link, remember we opened port 8080. If Jenkins is installed, it's supposed to run from here. So that's still going on. So while we're waiting for that to to work, I'm going to go straight down to this next step, which is basically creating an IAM role with administrator access. So we can then now attach this IAM role to the EC2 instance. It's not a Jenkins class, but it's one of those things. Okay, that's one step, that's another step, or we can just create a new cluster. So this command here now is to create a cluster. Let me now explain this cluster to you. This command here to you. It's saying EKS create cluster, that's that name, right? Because we would have to install some prerequisite, like I said earlier, that's what we're doing here. You get. So let me just explain it. See this. Okay, so this is done. If I come back and go to 8080, Jenkins should be running here. There's just a lot. I've tried to rush this take because of time. Jenkins should be running here. So why I have no idea why it's that slow. But anyways, let me just explain this. So you can create a cluster from the CLI. You can create a cluster from the console. There are different ways to create clusters, but we're doing it from the CLI using this tool, EKS CTL, in which we still have to install here. So you use that to create a cluster, and then you name dash name. We'll call the name study group EKS. I already did that before, and then that's just region, and then you say US East 1, and then you know this US East 1 just telling you the region where you want the cluster to be in, could be anywhere. And then we have node group name. You can manually create your node group, or you just create it here. I prefer doing this because it's easier to create your node groups from here. So we call that study group nodes. And then there's a node type of the node type we're using, which is the EC2 instance we plan to use, or the VM we plan to use, is a T3 small, right? So just to cut costs, we're not doing anything large, right? So T3 small. In fact, a T2 nano can also work, but we're using a T3 small, and then it's managed with then nodes of 2. So this actually means it's going to create 2 worker nodes. You can decide to create more than 2 worker nodes, right? So, but this is going to create 2 worker nodes. If you don't add that, it's going to create 2 worker nodes automatically. Okay, so there's a problem here. Just waiting for Jenkins to, which is not supposed to be so. How do you check Jenkins version? Jenkins is installed, yeah. So if we see that again, yes, it's installed in the system. So if we copy this, yes, come here, paste it, open a port 8080. I have no idea why this is happening. Questions here? Okay, I have no idea. But anyways, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the one I already created to continue from here. Okay, this could probably be a security group thing. Let me check security groups. I need to allow port 80 security here. Oh, are you serious? So you didn't add it. So I thought I actually used my okay, so I'm going to allow port 8080 here, and then add it. Actually thought I selected a specific security group that should allow that port to run. Should I can refresh? Yeah, so it's going to work. So sharp, we have Jenkins. We have to get the password, so we copy this here, come here, paste it because of time. Access denied, so that means we need to sudo in, go up, add the sudo in front of it. Yep, sudo. Oh, I have to cut it actually. So cut means actually to just show the file. So I didn't cut. Oh my god. So I cut it. That's the password. Get it out. Put it here. Right. How many times? Once. In. All right. Install suggested plugins. Using a Jenkins class, but we have to do this. So Jenkins does our CI. Uh-oh, what's going on? Try that again. Okay, so that's going on. We can now check where are we now in this steps. So we are here. Set up Jenkins, right? So waiting for this to set up. Okay, while we wait for this to set up, we can go to the next step, which is actually installing the AWS CLI, right? So what's AWS CLI? It's actually the command line interface to connect the AWS services. So I'll just copy this. This is to coil and get the link where it is there. Copy that. If we ls, we should see that zip file there. Then we can then sudo apt unzip. We can unzip. After unzipping, wait, okay, so that's us. This is just us installing the unzip, right? This is where we now unzip the file. We installed unzip the program, right? So we unzip the file. If there are any questions, my colleagues can take them from where they are. So after that, we then would install it. So it's usually in sudo AWS file and then install. Once you've installed it, we can check the version. So we know that is as running, right? So the next thing now is to install EKS CTL. So that's the command line tool. That's like Elastic Kubernetes control, you know, Elastic Kubernetes service control. That's the CTL there. So this is the link. Copy that. I'm going to do a lot of copy and pasting because actually in real life, oops, I think I didn't do that right. In real life, that's what we do. You get, that's what we actually do. Copy and paste. We troubleshoot a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of research. You can't cram everything. So we move that file to we move the EKSETL to the user slash local slash bin folder. If we check the version, we should find out that it is installed. EK. Something, my computer is just unusually slow today because I'm running to my things at the same time. All right, so we see the version there, that's working. We come down, the next thing is to install kubectl. So kubectl is the Kubernetes control command line tool for working with Kubernetes, right? So if we do this, copy it, we want to install that also. That's a prerequisite, right? Okay, so that didn't copy here. Sites, do this as in, we have to give it an execution. So it's chmod plus x. So we're trying to say we're giving it execution rights. And then kubectl version, check the version to see if it is in voila, is there. So the next step now is to create an IAM role with administrator access. I already did that before, but I can show you. Oh, back to Jenkins. Let's just do that. I'll just call everything admin, admin, admin for the sake of admin at Gmail. Oof. Usually slow. Okay, sorry, I didn't add that. Yeah, it should be here. Ooh, ooh. I'm gonna restart this. So we reload this one. Did that pass? Did it pass? Never. Okay, I was expecting this. But anyways, so while we're waiting for that to come up, which is really weird, because show you. I'm sure you already know how to do that. But anyways, is to come to I am, and then you go to roles, and then you create a new role, and then service, and then we're doing it for EC2 actually, and then you next and all of that. You've created it, but then I've already created it. I've already created this before, so this is what I'm using. Administrator full access for EC2. So if we come here and check the, what he has there, it's actually just full access, and then it's not supposed to be so. But basically, I'm meant to just give it access to, you know, access to EKS, right? But I already done this before, so I don't want to go back again to do the same thing, you know. So we've done that. Then you now have to attach it to the EC2 user. So if we come to where's that EC2, the one we just created now? I think this is it. Study group Jenkins. If we come here and then go to security and then go to security. No, no. If we come to the instance, where is it? 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 My bad. That's that instance. Okay, this is it. We come here, go to actions, go to security, go to modify IAM role, select that the IAM role you've created, and then update it. And if you then, where is it? We come here now and then check security. Because of time, check security. You should see the IAM role here. So if I come to now, we've done this. So it's switched to Jenkins user now. So what we can now do is we want to give this Jenkins user some form of rights. So we'll just switch to that Jenkins user. So we're now working as a Jenkins user, and then we can now create the cluster, right? So it's just to copy and paste this here, right? So it's just to copy this, put it there, and then press enter, you create the cluster. It takes 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes to create a cluster. Before I did that in a different machine. I did it in a different machine. If I come here and let me see if I still have access here, ls. Okay. I did that in a different machine. So just because of time, if I say, what's that command again? If I say, yes, kubectl gets cluster and the name of the cluster, but this isn't the name I used. It's, sorry. need a new computer. So yeah, cube EKSCTL, sorry, EKSCTL get cluster, then the name of that cluster I created earlier. If I come to this place, that's EKS on the console. I just want to see the name of the cluster I created earlier. I think it's study group. I think it's study group. Yeah, study group EKS residing in the region of US East 1. So I already created this cluster before and I don't want to create it again just because of time. So we've done that. We've created a cluster. So the next thing now is to try and get the get config file and then save that file locally. Right, I've done that before, but I'll show you. So once you create a cluster, it gives you this link that, okay, this is the link where you can now check the config file, the config of that cluster. So it saves here var/lib/jenkins/dot/cube/config. So if I copy that and I paste it here, I have no idea why this thing is copied twice. But I hope you're following me. Just jumbling things, but anyways, so if you check, this is the config here now. So what you need to do is now copy all of this. So this is what Jenkins is going to use. You copy it and then save it in a text file. I already did that before, and this is it. Kubeconfig.txt. I've saved this here before, right? So any questions? No questions? Any comments? Okay, nothing for now. Okay, so the next thing now is we check this here. Good, we've created the cluster. Create credentials for. Okay, good. So let's now go back up. Yep, we've created cluster. Yes. So we have to create an ECR repo where once we try to build the image of that particular software or application, we push it to ECR, and then from ECR we can then pull from there. So if I already created a this is weird. This is actually very weird, right? Let me just do it again. This is actually very. It's not meant to be like this. Actually, sudo cat. Okay, didn't see that coming. So this was going to happen. I'm gonna show you. This was the one I created earlier. I didn't see this coming, and I don't want to spend time trying to fix a bug. Shouldn't be there. Oh my God! It's because I am actually the Jenkins. I'm in here as a Jenkins user instead of the Ubuntu user. So I'm just going to exit. I'm going to exit, and then I'll do that again. At sudo sudo this here, here. admin, in, admin, 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 out of time. Okay, so while that is going on, we can now. So I was saying something about creating an ECR repo. So I already created one earlier before. So this is the ECR repo I created before. It's very easy to create. Once you come to Elastic Registry, container registry, you can click on this place and then create a new repo. But I already have one here before, so this is it. This is the repo, and I can. We've done this. We don't have to install Docker on that machine. So if I copy this, the steps are very long. That's just the thing. Hopefully we finish it. Hopefully, it's taking time. Going to do is I would do this. Okay, sorry, so I already created that before, but I have no idea why this is having this issue now. So this is Jenkins basically. We have that running. So on the previous machine where the Jenkins didn't work, I'm just showing you how to follow the steps. So it's to install Docker. So once you do that, this is the new machine on the left. This is the old machine on the right. That is what I've done before as a backup. So here on the new machine, I'm going to still try and install Docker, even if we have that somewhere, just to show you how it's done. Copy that, install it, and then we now have to add Ubuntu user to Docker group, right? Basically, this is the first thing I need to do. Let's switch it, then install it again. Sorry about that. Yep. No, 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 no. So we're copying here. Sudo upload it. Okay. So let's add Ubuntu to the Docker group. We'll just do that there. And we'll just exit from the console and log back in. We exit, then we log back in. Yeah. So it is almost 9 o'clock. Yes, so basically you now have to use all of this sudo ctl. So you have to start Docker and enable it and then check the status. We'll do that. And then you have to add Jenkins to your Docker group by using this command. We have to close by 9. So I'll just follow it. Once you do that, you now have to restart Jenkins. Once you restart Jenkins, you have to reload system files. Once you reloaded system files, you have to restart Docker service as well. So you stop it, then you start it again. Then you have to log out of Jenkins, then log back in. That's from the UI. Where is that? So you have to log out or just reload, log out, then log back in. Because of time, that's why I'm just doing this. I'll probably have to release a proper video because the processes are very long. So after you've done that, you now have to install these plugins: Docker, Docker pipeline, Docker CLI. So those are like plugins that would aid. So to do that, you just need to. I've done that before. Like I said, do it again. I'll just show you. So you go to your manage Jenkins, click on plugins, and then go to available plugins, and then you can search for Docker. Sorry, I've installed it before, so that's why it's not showing here. It should show actually. Docker. Let me check my install plugins. I'm going to Docker here. So you install Docker plugin, you install Docker pipeline, you install Kubernetes CLI plugin. So these are the three major plugins you have to install. Then you have to create a Maven three variable under global tool configurations in Jenkins. So if you go back to this, go to your manage Jenkins, and then go to global, to go to tools. Then from tools, you can now add Maven. I've already done that before. I've installed Maven. So you just basically add a Maven 3, and then this is the directory in which you would add, user/share/Maven. That's where Maven is installed. I've done that before. Save. Right. So the next thing is create credentials for connecting to Kubernetes cluster using kubeconfig. So that was what we did. That was what we did. That we got. That's what we did. Create credentials for connecting to kube cluster using kubeconfig. That was what we did when we got this file, this kubeconfig file, and then we saved it somewhere, right? So create pipeline and copy the pipeline code from below. So I'm sure you already know how to create a Jenkins pipeline. I just have to show you. You come here, new item, you click on pipeline, you give it a name. I'm just going to call this group. Get one before, we'll go back to use the one I've created before, and then okay. And then if you scroll down, you can now, from here start creating your pipeline. But let me show you the one I created. So this is it. I called it study group job. So in here, we can now start to define our processes and our pipeline. It's almost time. It's almost 9. Okay. Okay, so let me just quickly show you. So here we have tools here. This place where we have environment is where we are calling is what we hear, right? If you check that, yes. So this is it. We just need to just copy the URI, which is here. Just copy it and paste it there. So that's what is the registry, the environment. And then we have a couple of stages. The first stage is the checkout stage. So this checkout stage is basically just checking out the branches. And how we did it was that we come here, click on pipeline syntax, and then on the steps, go to git checkout version control, right? Oops. So basically I generated this before. Maybe because I've generated it before, that's why. Once you've done that, it's going to generate this to you. You have to connect it to that repo, which is this repo. You have to put this link, the repo link, and then put the branch there, and then it's going to generate this checkout for you, right? So once you've done that, the next stage is to build the jar file. So basically, the step there is just Maven clean install, because it's a Java Spring Boot application. It uses Maven as a package manager. So that's going to install it. The next stage is to build the image, and building the images, you just need to use a script, which is Docker image and docker.build registry. This basically is this guy here is pointing to this registry here, right? This environment, right? So once you've done that, we can now push to ECR, which is the next stage. And in this stage, what we're doing here is SSH. We are just creating we're not SSH, sorry, we're creating a shell script where we will put this. You can get this basic how to log in from your ECR is right here. So if you check push commands, you see it here. This is just logging in, you know, this is logging in. So if you get that, you paste it there. The other one is now Docker push. You're pushing this particular repo to that ECR. You can just copy it here and paste it there. So if I want to check this now, if this image, because I've built it before, if I go to that server, this one, if I say Docker images here, I can see that I have already built this image before. I did that 45 minutes ago. Okay, so and then we now have to deploy to Kubernetes. So in this place here, this is what we'll do. We'll say pipeline syntax. If we click on that again, we can generate, hopefully this time we should generate it. I haven't missed any step. Let me just check my steps. If I missed any steps here. Let me check. This is past 9 already. Um, Go to credentials, system, global, and then you can now add here. I've already added it before. Here you just pick secret file. Pick secret file. It's supposed to show a drop. That's already on that. This is the file we selected here. I had to select the this kubeconfig file I saved locally. So that's what is going to do this all credentials to Jenkins. Yeah. So that's what we did there. So the next thing now is to generate pipeline syntax, which was what I was doing before. So if I go back to that pipeline, we'll see if there are any comments. Okay. Okay, my time is up, but let me just quickly show you that pipeline again. So if I go back to that pipeline, I can now quickly, I can come here, pipeline syntax, and then generate with config.ctl. Uh, if I do this, select that file, and then generate this. Once I generate this, I copy this, and then put it here, right? That's what we have here on line 39. And then in this SH now, we're saying kubectl apply dash f this particular file, EKS deploy dash k8.yaml file. So that's the file that I started with initially, which is somewhere here. Yeah. So that's the file I explained initially. So if we run save that now, that pipeline, save it, and then we build. Just trying to wrap up. I built it before it was a success. So that means it should be running here. So if I because I've done that before, we can now start running some cube commands. Okay. We can now start running some cube commands like, where's my repo? You can say kubectl get ports. Oh. kubectl. Oh, this is weird. This is really weird. It's check something. Because we have a cluster running, right? So if I do this and I say DevOps study, yes. I'm not sure if that's the name of the cluster. Okay, DevOps study group. Yes, this is the name. The study group. My time is up actually. And I didn't have the time to explain this properly. So we actually have a pod there, right? So if we actually have a cluster running there, so if we do kubectl get nodes, should actually get us those nodes. I'm wondering why it's not. kubectl not found. This thing was installed now. Wow, this is really weird. I'll just stop here because of time, and I would have to review this and then do a proper video from here on. And thank you. Let me stop sharing my screen. Thank you. I didn't do justice to that, but we can still just check that repo and then follow up, and we would see how we can get on from there. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Simi, do you have anything to say? God's time.
Wonderful session. So we've learned, you did not just teach us deploying app on EKS, you also probably give us a brief overview how to automate that process. And that is something we all need to take home and then build on. You can come back to these videos. I know a lot of moving part was on this video, so you can watch it at a slow speed and then try to grasp what has been taught here. Yeah, it was a wonderful session. Thank you, Keme. So I think with this, we've come to the end of today's session. So you can always
All right,
give us
guys. So
feedback on the group. We'll be sending out a form for today, and then where you always recommend improvements and ways to advance our delivery method and operations. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Keme. Thank you, Simi, Kennedy. I see you. All right. Good night, everybody.